The Dallas Cowboys pregame show, live from the Star in Frisco, is brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing. Academy, the official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' film and game replays from week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.
Welcome into Cowboys pregame live from the Star in Frisco. Cowboys looking for their 6th win against the Lions. Kickoff is at noon. I've got former Cowboys safety Barry Church with me here. I'm Lindsay Draper, and it's going to be a great show because we are going out to Ford Field. We'll hear from our friends at DallasCowboys.com. Stephen Jones on the way. But Barry, first, I got to ask you to kick it off. What do you remember about playing the Lions and maybe something that the Cowboys can look toward today?
Well, I've always remembered playing against the Lions. It's kind of an underrated rivalry. I mean, we've played them a couple times going back to my 3rd year in the league. And each time we played against them, I believe we're 2-1. But Calvin Johnson, he went off on us for 1 year, so I'll never forget that one. But overall, it's kind of a rivalry that people know about.
There's so much to it as well with the Golden Tate history. When he played there, you cannot forget that. And Matt Stafford. But of course, the big news, Barry, is that Matt Stafford, the Lions came out and said on Friday, he will not play. You got a backup in there today with Jeff Driscoll. Well, 1 loss under his belt against Chicago last week. But what do you look at as a safety, as a defense on film against a guy that hasn't played very much and something that you want to capitalize on?
The Cowboys, they have to capitalize on this opportunity. Like you said, Jeff Driscoll has not played that much in the NFL at all. He's kind of taken that long route to the starting lineup. But this Cowboys team has got to this guy has got to disguise their secondary in order to get an interception on this guy, 1 or 2 of them. He's a turnover machine waiting to happen. I believe if they disguise their secondary well, kind of blitz them, get after them, catch them seeing ghosts there every now and then, I believe they can take advantage of Jeff Driscoll. They got to with Matt Stafford being out.
The last time they played a noon game, of course, it was the Jets, but hopefully they can change that narrative today. Here's a look at the Cowboys' schedule going forward, as well as maybe what the Eagles are doing. We might need to check in on them. This is the race to the finish. Obviously, Barry, this is going to come down to something when the Cowboys and Eagles play each other in Week 16. Do you think about that as a player? Are you thinking ahead like, you know what, Eagles are in the back of my mind here?
You got to have them in the back of your mind right now. Coach Garrett does a great job of kind of keeping all his players even keel. They kind of got to go at it 1 game at a time, 1 week at a time. I know that kind of sounds cliche, and everybody's like, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. You got to look forward, but you can't. If you do that, you'll slip up and lose. We've seen it happen in the past when they lost to the New York Jets. They kind of overlooked them, and they snuck up and bit them in the butt. This is the same type of situation with Detroit. Hopefully they don't look past this team. They stomp them out early and get a win and come on back to Dallas.
Definitely. At this point of the year, there should be no overlooking anyone when your record is 5-4 when you see those numbers right there on the screen. But let's talk about what would this win even mean for the Cowboys? What would a win?
I think a win for this Cowboys team would just simply mean that they're going in the right direction. They're headed in the right direction. They still would be in first place in half a game over Philadelphia. And I think that's what it all comes down to. They got to stay on par with Philly because after this Patriots game with the Eagles schedule kind of goes downhill as far as difficulty, and the Cowboys seems to go up.
It goes uphill for
sure. They're going to have to keep on par with the Eagles and have that Week 16 matchup going to be for the division race, I think. But going forward, they got to take care of the Lions today. They have a tough matchup next week against the Pats, but first things first, you got to take care of the Lions.
And we're going to take a look now at the inactives. Who is down for the Cowboys? And Barry, you're the best person I can have up here to tell me what the name Jeff Heath on this list actually means for the Cowboys today.
To me, I think the loss of Jeff Heath is huge. I mean, he's the quarterback back there. They have a very young secondary. They are experienced because they've been playing together for the past 2 or 3 years, but this secondary is very young. Jeff Heath is a guy back there that gets them all lined up, gets them in the right place at the right time, has them kind of communicating as a whole. Darian Thompson, who might fill in for him coming up this game, is a veteran. He knows how to quarterback a defense, so they should be okay there with this week. But going forward, if Jeff Heath misses more time, I think it'll be a significant injury.
Oh, definitely. And I know a lot of people on Twitter were asking, are we going to see any Donovan Wilson today? Maybe we can get into that later on. A young safety from Texas A&M who hasn't played at all but had a fantastic preseason. Barry, what will This sub for Xavier Su'a-Filo in place for Connor Williams. Does that mean a lot to you? Because he's got to play with the Cowboys last year.
He did get to play with the Cowboys last year. He filled in nicely when he came in last year before the playoff run. I think they weren't 7-1 on that run while he was in there. But this is a bigger body than Connor Williams. So I am interested to see if the run game will tick up a bit, because he's more of that road grader, more of that grinder, that mauler to get after it in the run game. He's not much of a sit back and pass protect type of lineman. But if he's able to go out there, I'm interested to see if that run game will tick up a notch.
That will be interesting because, yes, you talked about the size. Connor Williams, of course, had the knee scope. We're going to take a quick break from the studio, just getting started here on Pregame Live. When we come back, we go out to the sideline at Ford Field to talk to Nick Eatman, Rob Phillips, get some of their players to watch. All that and more right after this.
Do you get frustrated having to play from behind all the time?
No, I mean, it's part of the game. I'm one of those people, I'm a lock in, play it series by series. If you're up, if you're down, it really shouldn't matter. You should be going out there to execute the plays the best of your ability. And that's my mindset, and that's how this offense kind of operates.
When you had an issue with the slow starts throughout the season, do you feel like there can be a turning point with that in one game?
Yeah, for sure. It's just, I mean, we've showed flashes of it. We've had times, we've had instances where we went out there and played great complementary football, and we played it early. We started the game off that way and were able to play the whole game that way. So we'll get going. It's no concerns or no necessarily panic button. We'll get it figured out.
The Philly game was your only opening drive touchdown. Does that tell you something about how much of an influence that could have to score on that opening play like that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, right there, as you score early and you play from ahead, you get to dictate the tempo, you get to dictate the way the game's played. Now the other team's playing catch-up.
The other night was the first time this season you didn't had a rushing attempt. Is your confidence in the pocket such that you're less reluctant, or more reluctant to leave it and run and use your mobility?
Yeah, I mean, I just let the game come to me. I don't necessarily sit back and say, oh, I need to run. I haven't ran yet. I need to go do that to slow the defense down or to open up something else. When there's running lanes, I take advantage of them, and sometimes they don't present themselves. Or as you said, sometimes it's going well from the pocket and just hadn't had that opportunity. But you see plays I extended last game and were just able to make the throw where if that throw's not there, sure, I go and run it. We're not having this conversation, so.
Cowboys Pre-Game Live. And first things first that you have to do, if you're not sure about this yet, you are now. Download the Cowboys mobile app and start playing the free-to-play game. All you do is make your predictions before each quarter. Got to remember to go back before each quarter starts, and you can win up to $10,000. Simple as that, completely free to play. Welcome back into the studio. Not staying here for long. We are going back out to Ford Field to check in with Nick Eatman and Rob Phillips of DallasCowboys.com, who have been watching these guys warm up and have some players for us to watch, guys.
Thanks very much, Lindsay, and welcome to Ford Field, where the Lions have gotten 2 of their 3 wins this season at home, albeit with Matt Stafford. They don't have him today. It's the Jeff Driscoll show for the second week in a row. He got a full week of practice. And, Nick, the Cowboys have faced teams without star players this year. This is not a must-win game, but it's a really need-to-win game, especially in this situation.
Without a doubt. You're right about that. They need to win. At this point, you got to get all of them. If Jalen Smith can play well today, the Cowboys should have no problems at all, correct?
Absolutely. Right. Go Cowboys. The hot boys in the building today.
There it is.
Really, what else do we need to say?
That's one guess already. Yeah, there we go.
Jalen Smith, those guys need to be running around, like you said, on Jeff Driscoll. The guy that I'm kind of looking at that they won't be back there is Jeff Heath. What happens at the safety position? Darian Thompson plays this game, and I think Thompson has been playing very well, very physical. That's not where I would be worried about without Heath. It's special teams. What happens at the punt protector? Let's see how they hold up there without Heath out there.
How do you feel about the offensive line with no Connor Williams, but Lyle Collins looks like he'll be good to go today? Active, and they managed him throughout the week.
I've been saying for a while I thought Xavier Su'a-Filo should be coming into the starting lineup. I think he provides more experience and power. So that's my guy that I think that he really should play well at the left guard spot. Who's your guy to watch?
My guy to watch is Jordan Lewis, a Detroit native, and he told you he's basically playing for free today because he's got 40 tickets.
40 tickets, yeah.
So, and he's played well, and we've talked about him on the pregame show. He brings some competitiveness, some instincts, and he's up against Danny Amendola, who we know all about him, a guy that's played well for them. And really, it's the entire Cowboys secondary. Byron Jones, Chido Awuzie, Marvin Jones, Kenny Galladay. They have some weapons for Jeff Driscoll today, no question.
You know, I think another guy on offense, Jason Witten, didn't have his best game last week, but I do think that he'll bounce back. I could see them kind of getting him a little bit more involved in the passing game. I'm going to have him scoring a touchdown this game, too. I think he scores a touchdown.
Bold predictions. All right. That's Jalen Smith. That was Nick Eatman. That's the early word from Ford Field. Back to Lindsay and the crew.
Thanks, guys. We'll head back out there soon. Barry, Jordan Lewis with 40 tickets back in his hometown in Detroit. What's the most tickets you ever had?
The most tickets I've ever had given was 8, and that was when I played in Pittsburgh, and that was for a playoff game, too.
Wow. So he had to spend for a lot.
Like he said, he's playing for free. I mean, I played football my whole life for free until I got to the NFL, so there was no way I was giving up my cash checks like that. Was no way. There's just no way.
But, pressure is on Jordan Lewis today. Got 40 people in the stands going to watch him. And when we come back after this quick break from Pregame Live, we'll talk more about the defense. But our girl Dani Sarek has a story on La'el Collins and how he's living up to that contract right after this.
Jeff, well, how different is it this week? You said last week that you prepare like you're going to start every day anyways, but having maybe a little bit more clarity, taking first-team reps early in the week, how has it been different preparing this week than it was last week?
Preparing, it's been the same. You know, you get here first thing in the morning, you kind of figure out what the plan is for the week. I'd say the biggest difference for me is just all you guys standing around my locker. You know, that's kind of the biggest difference for me right now. But no, it's business as normal. Take in as much information as you can, go practice it, and look at it after practice, take it home, look at it some more, so and be ready for tomorrow, third down day.
Do the extra reps help?
Yeah, I mean, reps always help. I've been putting myself in position all year mentally to, be ready when called upon, and getting a few extra reps here and there definitely helps. Getting in and out of the huddle with these guys, calling the plays, everything helps the more you do it. So yeah, I think for sure.
What do you see with the Cowboys?
Yeah, they're a really good team. Starts with their front for sure. Good players in their back end and really good young linebackers. So I mean, it's a good crew all around. We have our hands full, and I think we have a good plan so far, and just looking forward to getting the rest of the plan the rest of this week.
Welcome back into Cowboys Pregame Live. We are from the Star, and we've got a story from Dani Sarek on La'el Collins, who snuck under the radar this season when he got his contract done going into this season with Ezekiel Elliott. Dani Sarek has more.
Right tackle La'el Collins says he's never felt more comfortable in his play. And even though he's only been playing on the right side for the last 3 years, he's already making a noticeable impact. The Cowboys have allowed 11 sacks this season, for the fewest in the league. And among tackles who have played 8 games, Collins is tied for first with just 1 sack allowed. He's playing like someone who has earned a 5-year, $50 million contract extension, which he signed at the beginning of the season. He says it was important to get that deal done early to avoid any distractions or questions from the media throughout the season. It was also good timing for someone as quiet as Collins, because he signed his new deal the same week running back Ezekiel Elliott ended his holdout and signed his own new deal. Elliott got most of the media attention, and for Collins, that was perfectly fine.
For me, I just want to get back to work. I mean, if I didn't get any attention for it, I would love it, I mean, it'll be great, but, obviously it comes with it, so I just, just try to stay out of the locker room, just go in the weight room and stuff.
The improvements Collins has made, which made him deserving of the new contract, haven't gone unnoticed.
LC has continued to improve over the course of his career. Ever since we've gotten him here, he's played with a great demeanor, physicality to his play, jumps off the tape. He plays a challenging position. He faces good rushers every week. And then I just think he's improved his footwork, his hand use, how he wants to pass protect. And I think you've seen that really week after week, year after year. The physicality remains, that demeanor he plays with remains. I just think he continues to refine his technique.
Collins says this is the organization he wants to be with, and in large part because of his fellow offensive linemen.
Our group is like no other. I mean, I tell people all the time, I was with a great group of guys in college, a great group of guys in high school, but I've never been around a group like the group that we have. The moment we walk into work together, you probably see us together the whole day. I mean, everything we do, workouts, meeting times, to the breaks in between meetings. I mean, it's not really that much time where we're not together. So, we got a really good, strong group.
A group that's not only strong in their bond, but also on the field. Collins says having the type of talent this team has up front motivates him to give it his all on every play. The offensive lineman may not show the big numbers on the stats sheet. However, it shows in other ways. In 2 of his 5 years in the league, Collins has blocked for a league-leading rusher, running back Ezekiel Elliott.
You got to take pride in what you do, especially when you love the guys that you're blocking for. You don't want nobody to touch them, so you want to make sure that the guy that you're blocking don't make the play. That's always first thing in your mind. Block this guy to the end of the whistle. Don't let him make the play. Don't let him get to the guy that you're trying to protect.
Elliott has rushed for 10 or more yards on a run to the right on 13 occasions this year. For Collins, he says there's nothing more exciting than seeing number 21 or 4 zoom past him.
That's the best feeling in the world. Anytime you see one of those guys just run right past you for a big play, I mean, it's amazing because it's like not only are they getting yards and, getting downfield, but, it's just a little less of the field we have to go. And it just tells us that we're doing our job up front. That's what we're here to do. As we go, Coach Colombo always says it, as the offensive line go, the team goes. So, it starts with us up front.
Collins says the offensive line is so effective because they take every practice and game rep so seriously. That mentality and brotherhood is a large part as to why Collins wanted to stay in Dallas as opposed to test the free market. Still to come on Cowboys Pregame Live, team reporter Dave Hellman gives his top matchups to watch for in today's game from Ford Field.
What jumps out at you so far about Dallas's offense? They seem to be clicking.
Zeke back there. We got a Zeke, great O-line, a great receiver. So it's all kind of clicking for him, So all things working for him, it's hard to stop the offense.
What does Cooper do well?
Oh, man, might be one of the, out of him, Tay, and Keenan Allen might be the best guys off the line of scrimmage. I might give nods to him just because he's a lot more explosive than all of them. But just because of the fact that he can run, he came out as a 4-3 guy. So, Keenan them quick instincts, but he a guy can be quick off the line of scrimmage and quicker downfield, and he's a little bit bigger than some of them. So, but overall, they all kind of like the same, but he's very, very, very great off the line of scrimmage. So, you gotta have great patience with him.
We are back here on Cowboys Pregame Live from the Star in Frisco. Thankfully, our guys out in Detroit aren't playing outside today.
Exactly. I think it's 25 degrees out there. Oh, it's freezing.
70 degrees in the stadium right now. Let's check in with David Hellman of DallasCowboys.com, who is probably really warm down there on the sideline. Dave?
Thanks, y'all. All right, look. I focused on the trenches last week against Minnesota. Didn't go that well for me. So I want to take a look at the pass game in this matchup against the Lions for a variety of reasons. We know Matthew Stafford's not going to play. We know it's going to look different with Jeff Driscoll in the lineup. But here's the thing. The Lions receivers are what gives this offense a chance to be successful anyway. So I'm looking at this matchup between Byron Jones and Kenny Golladay. If you don't know the guy, get familiar with the name. 6'4", 215, leading the NFL in touchdown receptions. He's kind of a big deal. Steals the spotlight maybe a little bit from Marvin Jones. They're both fantastic receivers. Galladay's size is what gives me pause. That's why I'm focusing on him and Byron Jones. Byron, obviously, the tallest, longest cornerback on this roster. He's got shutdown capabilities. Rod Marinelli and Chris Richard typically don't travel their cornerbacks with opposing wide receivers. This is a week where I would reconsider that. I don't think the Cowboys will, but I want Byron Jones on a guy as big and physical as Kenny Golladay as often as possible. We've seen Chido Awuzie struggle at times with big receivers this season. Jordan Lewis and Anthony Brown are not the biggest cornerbacks in the world. I like going size on size. Hopefully Byron Jones gets as much of Golladay as possible. On the other side of things, the Lions have a pretty good cover cornerback by the name of Darius Slay. Again, a name to know. He travels with receivers a lot. We'll see if he does that with Amari Cooper, because Cooper is active for this game. I think he'll be limited by all these foot and leg injuries he's had over the course of the season. So again, do the Lions try to capitalize on that matchup by traveling Slay around the formation with Cooper? I would if I were them. Take my chances with Michael Gallup and whichever other cornerbacks they want to use on him. Rashawn Melvin comes to mind. But Slay is the name to know, and if Cooper struggles to get separation in this game, I think that'll be why. I think those two matchups go a long way in determining how successful these offenses are. Hopefully I'm a little more correct this time than I was last week. Back to y'all.
Thank you, Waldo. I'm glad we'll be able to find you out there.
My boy Waldo.
We love you, Dave. Great stuff. And Barry, I know you. What are your thoughts on what Dave said and possibly traveling someone?
I agree with Dave 100% on this one. These two matchups, the Golladay versus Byron and Cheeto, or the Slay versus Amari Cooper, are the two premier matchups in this game. I feel like the Golladay versus the corners for the Cowboys will be huge in this one. If it was up to me, I would travel Byron with Golladay, because Golladay is a bigger receiver. Like Dave said, he's strong, he's athletic, and he matches up well against Cheeto, because Cheeto has struggled in the past with these 50-50, these jump ball type situations. So if it was up to me, I would travel Byron with Golladay, who's an explosive receiver. But the Cowboys typically don't do that. They've only done it once when I've been here, and that was with Calvin Johnson, as he went off for 300 yards a couple weeks before. Wow. But that's the only time I've ever seen them double team. And as far as the Slay versus Amari Cooper, this is a premier matchup right here. I mean, Amari Cooper, arguably top 3 at his position, explosive, one of the best route runners in the game. And then you have Slay, who's not a slump at himself. He's a top 3 corner, excels in man-to-man coverage. His technique at the line of scrimmage is not matched by many. I mean, he's able to put his hands on a lot of receivers. And we've seen that give Amari Cooper struggles in the past. Marshawn Lattimore was able to do that for the Saints. So we've seen that struggle. But Amari Cooper is a stronger guy. Darius Slay is not the biggest corner, so I got to give him the advantage when it comes to strength. He should be able to get those contested catches. He should be able to get those 50-50 jump balls. So these two matchups are going to be amazing. I got to give the edge to Amari versus Slay just off the strength, and I got to give Golladay a little bit of a tick above Byron and Cheeto just because of what he's been able to do this season.
He's number 1 in receiving touchdowns. Amari Cooper is number 2. So this is going to be so exciting to watch. But when you think about maybe the possibility of mixing in Blake Jarwin on the offense for the Cowboys, I'm just going to go right into that, because I know, Barry, you and I have talked about this all week long here at the Star. When you look at the numbers, look at the yards that Jarwin has had on so many less catches, and he's got 3 touchdowns, a slight edge, 20-yard receptions. He's got the edge there because he's so fast. Is there a way to get him more involved?
They have to find a way. This is no shot at Witten at all. You know, Witten has been playing good coming back from the booth, but Jarwin is a mismatch nightmare for anybody, for safeties, for corners, especially for linebackers. This guy, he played receiver in the past. He's able to go up and get those balls, those 50-50 contested balls that we were talking about, and he has a speed at tight end that's not matched by a lot of people. He's able to run past linebackers, and he's able to set up safeties because they're not used to covering a tight end that fast. This guy, like I said, is a mismatch nightmare. They got to figure out a way to get him more pass attempts out there. I mean, he's a walking 20-yard reception. I mean, we've seen this guy out there dominating defenses blitzes left and right. Witten's a great player. He's a great pass blocker, but I think it's time to get Jarwin a little bit more involved.
Why do I think, Barry, though, that that's not going to happen as long as Jason Witten is on this team? Not only, of course it's not a shot at Witten, but even with age, he's got that security blanket establishment with Dak Prescott.
This is true.
And all these guys look up to him.
This is true. I mean, he brings a leadership value to this team as in general that's unmatched by anybody. So I got to say that you got to continue to play him. You can't just take him out of the starting lineup all in itself because, like you said, he has that leadership role, and you don't want to affect that by taking the whole starting role away from him. But what he does provide is great blocking and great protection for Dak Prescott. Hopefully they can get Jarwin involved a little bit more without totally taking Witten out of the game.
We're looking at Kellen Moore for this, right?
This is
Hello,
true.
Let's get it going. We need both of these guys in here. Final break here for the television part of our show. If you are streaming online, don't worry, we're not going anywhere, but we'll wrap it up here from the Star right after this.
I mean, I wouldn't say to be surprised. I mean, this is NFL football, so I mean, every team is good. Every team has great players, and if you don't go out there and handle your business, you're gonna lose ball games. So I mean, I think it's all on us in this locker room. It's all about us. It's all on us to turn it around. It's all on us to go out there and play better.
Similar to last year in your mind, and where you guys were? Obviously, it was 4-5. I think.
I think it's somewhat similar. I think we had definitely a lot more urgency, or had to have a lot more urgency last year. We were 3-5, so we had to put some games together. Right now, we're still tied for first in the division, or we're leading the division, and so we just got to make sure we keep winning ball games.
When you say you're not surprised, you said you weren't surprised about that 5-4. Do you mean you're not focusing on the surprise, or because of last year you've been here before, or what did you mean by that?
I don't know. I was just trying to answer you guys' question. I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, should I be surprised? I mean, I don't know. It's the NFL. I mean, you're not going to be 12-4 every year. You're not going to be 13-3. You're not going to be 10-6 every year. But what matters is you give yourself a chance at the end of the year in the playoffs. So, I mean, we're not – so how many games? We're not 9-0. We're not 8-1, but we still are in the race for being in the playoffs. I mean, so that's what I meant.
Pregame show, live from the Star in Frisco, was brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing. SWBC Mortgage, financial solutions to help you meet your personal and business goals. Visit swbc.com. And by the Dallas Cowboys Football Club. Want to tour AT&T Stadium? For more information, call 817-892-TOUR or visit dallascowboys.com/tours.
All right, Barry, as we wrap up here on TXA 21, the locker room all week long was saying we got to peak at the right time. That's what this is about.
Yeah, these guys are 100% right on this. You got to peak at the right time. You don't want to limp into the playoffs. We've seen this happen before with two teams. The New York Giants, they were able to go into the playoffs with momentum going right. They won 2 Super Bowls. Hopefully that can happen with the Dallas Cowboys.
If you're watching with us online, we'll be right back after this. Thanks for tuning in.
By the Lions three-foot front and the challenges that
Yeah, well, they're really good. You know, their defense coordinator was my tight end coach here, so I know what he's all about. I mean, he's a fundamentalist. He's a technique-driven coach, and it shows up in the play. They're big, they're strong. They have good awareness of run lanes and rush lanes, and so they understand what defensive lineman's job is. It's not just about for them in that system of getting sacks and creating pressure. Like, they play their role really well. So that's kind of the first thing that sticks out. And I think more than anything else is their ability to play physical. They're a physical team, and so you got a challenge knowing that not only they're big and strong, but they play that way. And so, Trey Flowers, I think, first time I really got to study him and watch him, he's a tough matchup.
Pregame Live continuing here from the Star in Frisco as we are getting you set for kickoff at noon against the Lions. Barry, your thoughts on the Blues? Seen a lot of these lately.
A lot of these lately, and I'm a big fan of the Blues since I've never got to wear them when I was here as a Cowboy, but I think they're very saucy, but their record.
You never wore the Blues?
No, I've never got a chance to wear the Blues.
You were here a long time.
I was.
I'm telling you, this is a recent trend. Cowboys fans are not a fan of the blue.
I've seen. Their record with the blue jerseys, I believe, is 68, 73, and 1. So, wow. Not too good in the Blues, but maybe they're ready to make a comeback here.
Your boy Jeff Heath, obviously not dressed out. He's got 2 banged up shoulders, and the strength just isn't there. Is that going to be a huge factor today, Barry?
For this particular game with the Stafford-less Lions, I don't see it being that big of a deal. But going forward, if he's able to miss more time, I see it being a pretty significant injury.
We can only wait and see. I'm sure we will get an update for you this week when the Cowboys get back here to the Star and get ready for this stretch of a ton of games coming up in a little amount of time. Let's go back out now to Ford Field, check in with our buddy, Rob Phillips of DallasCowboys.com. Rob?
Thanks very much, Lindsay. It's been about a year since the Cowboys traded for Amari Cooper and made that run to the NFC East title and the playoffs. That's the task again this year. And Cooper, despite many injuries since training camp, is on pace for a potential franchise history-making run. Jason Witten has played with some pretty good receivers over 16 years. He knows when a wideout feels unguardable. Amari Cooper is on that list. After Cooper's 11-catch, 147-yard performance against Minnesota, Witten said,
I don't want to speak for him, but as a teammate and somebody that's studied a lot of route runners for a long time, he's at that place.
Witten's right. There is no route that Cooper can't win. A deep ball, underneath, or somewhere in between. There is no sideline that can get in his way. And, like a dominant pass rusher, he has a package of counter moves for any method of coverage. Through 9 games, Cooper has already reached his career high for touchdowns in a season with 7. He's on pace for a 1,500-yard season. That would shatter his 2016 career high in Oakland and rank second all-time in Cowboys history, behind only Michael Irvin's 1,600-yard season in 1995. When asked if Witten was right, if at his best he reaches a point where he feels unguardable, The normally stoic Cooper smiled.
Yeah.
Cooper showed no limitations against the Vikings despite a knee contusion earlier in the week. They'll need him to be healthy and unguardable the rest of this playoff race. For DallasCowboys.com, I'm Rob Phillips.
Thank you, Rob. Amari Cooper, we talk about him every week, but I still feel like it's not enough. I mean, he's had now 5 injuries. He's on the injury report this week, but from the weeks in the past, I guess that doesn't mean much for this guy. Who was the biggest, best receiver you played against? Was he a Lion by chance?
I think he was a Lion by chance. I mean, the guy I went against, Calvin Johnson, I mean, he was matched by none. I mean, he had all the tools. He was 6'5". He could run like a deer. He can catch anything. His catch radius was unbelievable. And he proved that against us, going for 319 yards in one game. But overall, that had to be the most talented, most athletic wide receiver I've ever gone against. Amari's not too far behind him when it comes to athleticism. This guy is a specimen, and he's doing well for the Cowboys.
He's doing amazing. And Rob said it, heading toward franchise records. I mean, just incredible to see what he's done. Of course, Kenny Golladay out there is going to be fun to watch as well. And the Cowboys defense is where I want to shift our focus now, Barry. How they've played in wins and again in losses. You can see the numbers right here. Just your thoughts overall on the defense through 11 weeks. And I know you've talked about this. You want to see them start trending upward.
I got to see them start trending upwards. And 2 things that stick out in my mind when it comes to these wins and losses for this defense. And that's one of them is the turnovers. They've only been able to get 2 turnovers in their 4 losses versus their 5 wins. They've been able to get 12. And what we've seen in the past, winning the turnover battle directly impacts the win-loss percentages of each team. So they got to get their turnovers up if they want to switch the narrative and get more wins than losses. And the other thing that stuck out to me is they're not making teams unbalanced. I mean, the teams are being able to win in the losses. The teams are being able to run the ball as well as pass the ball. And if the offense is able to dictate to the defense what it wants to do, play in and play out, the defense has no chance of winning unless your offense puts up 40-some points a game. So they gotta be able to find a way to stop teams and make them one-dimensional, either pass the ball only or run the ball only. They gotta find a way to make these teams one-dimensional.
Do you think the Cowboys front 7 and really that defensive line today, that a lot of this falls on them? I mean, just getting Jeff Driscoll off his game a little bit could be huge.
They have to have him out there seeing ghosts. They got to get that pressure from the edge from Quinn and Lawrence and the boys, and they got to get that upfront pressure. And I feel like the interior pressure is going to be what gets the Cowboys turnovers this game. Bennett up the middle, Malik Collins up the middle, getting that guy seeing ghosts, throwing it to random people. Hopefully they have a Dallas Cowboys jersey on.
I want to say I read that last week Michael Bennett had 6 pressures, which that is such a stat to me that does not get enough love because pressures affect so much, even though it's not a sack.
So much. I mean, with pressures up the front like that, the quarterback really can't see his option or where he wants to throw the ball, and that's where you get errant throws, where you get overthrows, and that's where our guy Xavier comes in the hand, and hopefully he gets his, 4th or 3rd interception of the season, I believe.
He is balling.
He is balling, so we need him to get his ball hawking on this afternoon, and I think he will be able to against Driscoll.
It could be huge for the Cowboys defense, but like always, we've got to check in with Stephen Jones, who is out there at Ford Field, ready for his weekly interview with Nick Eatman and Rob Phillips.
Thank you, Lindsay. We're joined, as always, by Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer here at Ford Field. And I remember last year about this time going into Philadelphia, you said, if we want to be the team we want to be this year, we got to win a game like this. I don't know if this is a must-win game, but is it one of those you have to start getting wins here at the second half of the year? It starts today.
Well, no question. This is a very important game. Obviously, dropping the one last week put more importance on this game. And, it's a hard place to win. We've been in here before and playing Matthew Stafford, and, he's given us fits. Now, he's not going to be out there today, but, we really believe in this team. We've got a top-ranked offense. We've got a defense that plays well. We just need to start fast, execute, and then finish. And, unfortunately, we didn't do that last week, but we need to start it right here.
To your point, Stephen, numbers say you guys are doing a lot of things well in terms of where you're ranked. 3 losses by a total of 8 points this year, and I think you were 8-2 in games decided by a touchdown or less last year. Do you guys feel like you're close? You mentioned finishing games. I mean, do you feel like you're in position to finish some of these games?
Absolutely. We're really pleased with our football team as a whole. Obviously not pleased with the one-loss record in terms of what we feel like we can be as a football team, but we feel like we can take that next step and start turning some of these closer games into wins for us, get some momentum, and really take that into the back half of this season.
You had a couple of guys that were drafted by other teams in the 2nd or 3rd round that maybe needed a fresh start. You've talked about that before. Today, Darian Thompson, Xavier Suafilo, guys that have been good backups for you. Now you're going to ask them to come in here and really, try to help this thing from a starting standpoint.
Well, Xavier did it last year, did a great job for us when Connor got hurt, and I thought he was outstanding. Of course, Darian filled in last week he did a nice job, and I think he'll step up and play well for us. That's what hats off to Will, and done a great job of picking up some of these guys and giving us the depth that we need to be good, and that's why we really like our football team and feel like we got a great opportunity here to get on a run.
I know you said Zeke Elliott is the straw that stirs the drink around here. He had a career day against Detroit last year. How can you guys get him going a little bit more offensively?
Well, I think he's still, fifth or sixth in the league in rushing, but obviously that's not up to what everybody wants from Zeke. But, some people make a conscientious effort to really pile up there and stop Zeke. And when they do, like Dak did last week with our receiving core, he made them pay. And so I think obviously that'll probably be in Detroit's mind too in terms of, how well we were able to move the ball through the air and play a little more honest. But I think Zeke's more motivated than ever to show everybody he's just fine.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us. That's Cowboys Chief Operating Officer Stephen Jones.
Oh, hey guys, welcome back. We're talking about our keys to the game here because that's the last thing we do before we wrap it up. So Barry, I want to hear your key to a Cowboys win, 6th win of the season that they absolutely need over the Lions.
Well, my keys to the game are simple. They have to be able to punch this Lions team in the mouth. They can't give this team any type of momentum. They're out their number one quarterback. They have a young guy. He's not a rookie, but he's not very experienced in the game. They got to be able to, this defense has to be able to punch these guys in the face and say, look, you don't have a chance at all of winning this game. Don't give them any type of momentum. Don't make them feel like they can stay on this same field with you this Sunday. Just shut them out from the beginning, and you shouldn't have any problems.
That's 100% pretty much what I'm saying here, Barry. My key to the game is I looked up a stat. The Cowboys, when it comes to first half performances across all teams in the league, they're ranked 23rd.
Wow.
And when it comes to second half, they're ranked first in performances. So obviously, yes, great job with Jason Garrett and the adjustments that they do in the second half, but you cannot be in the 23rd range today. You've got to come out in that top 5 with the way that you play and perform. So we picking a Cowboys win today?
We're picking the Cowboys. You know you're going to get everybody's best shot when you're the Dallas Cowboys, so just stop them out, momentum early.
I'm going with the Cowboys
You
win.
want the Cowboys?
Yeah, I had to think
Cowboys
about it for a
well.
split second there. You get your last look here at Ford Field as Barry and I say goodbye. We will be back here right after the game with you for the first word, all types of reactions, and again, looking for their 6th win. Today is the day. We'll see you then.